I'm going to pop onto YouTube real quick and make sure that we are really live, that I can see us, but I believe that we are. So give me 2 seconds. We are live. Awesome. Guys, thank you for joining us tonight. I am really, really excited to be here with Crystal Gilbert, and I'm excited to interview her and to talk about this project that we've been working on for months now, I guess. I don't know, like I've lost all concept of time this year, but I'm really excited to talk to you guys about writing a wellness ebook. So we're going to talk to you about the ebook writing or book writing and publishing process in general. And we're also going to talk about the behind the scenes of the project that we've been doing, which, as you probably know, is finishing up the Crystal plus Oil Synergies recipe book. And so this is actually much more than just a recipe book. It's really a healing guide that walks you through the process so that by the end of the book, you have confidence in making not just my recipes, but in making your own crystal and oil synergies safely and powerfully. So I'm so grateful to Crystal for helping me with this project. It would not exist. You would not be about to read it if it were not for her. She helped me design, format, brainstorm, and really make the book just way more than I envisioned it initially, just bigger, better, more beautiful. And I love seeing her passion for crystals grow throughout this process and how she's applying the crystals with her essential oil healing for herself in her own life, and also for her Aroma Freedom Technique clients. So that's really fun to just see how, you know, something that we both love and are loving more and more and more as we dive into it. And just getting to do a project with someone else is already so much more fun. So Crystal, I just want you to introduce yourself, maybe tell us a little bit about you, and then I'm going to dive into kind of the process of an ebook and what we went through step by step.
All right. Well, thank you for having me here, and I'm excited to be a part of every bit of this process, but also this part right now where we get to start sharing about it is really exciting for me. That's the sweet icing on the cake for me. So I have dabbled in health and wellness for probably 5 or so years. I got into essential oils about 4.5 years ago. And then I just got really passionate about learning more of these tools that I had never heard of before, weren't around me. People weren't really using it. So I just craved all the stuff that I didn't know. And only recently, within the past year, really, did I really start focusing on learning about the crystals and how to incorporate them. So that's one of the things that brought me to Erin, because I saw how she was the guru on crystals and pairing them with essential oils. And I have learned so much this past year. But yeah, especially with going through this book. And I have been so inspired, and I won't share a whole lot, but I will definitely be utilizing them more in my own practice in the very near future. I have right here just a handful of the different crystals anyway. I keep them around me, and it's been such an easy transition to learn about this new way to help my health and wellness. So I'll just say the biggest thing about me is I'm a perpetual student. I love to learn, and this collaboration has been so inspiring and helpful for me for that. So I'll throw it back to you for now.
Yes, thank you for using the word easy, because I always hope that that is what I'm creating, ways that these healing methods are accessible, right? And by accessible, I mean not just, okay, I get it, but then also I can put it into play. And I love anytime we're on a call, we've both got our crystals and oils or roller bottle, you know, we're doing all the stuff. None of this is fake. This is like actually how we really are on a day-to-day basis, which I love. Yeah. So the other cool thing is almost immediately, as soon as you were going through the crystals and oils course and we had a conversation, you're like, there needs to be a book. And I was like, I know there needs to be a book, but here's what you don't understand. It's really hard to publish a book. There's so many things. I'm so overwhelmed. I've been wanting to do one for years. And I mentioned this in the email that went out today. And I keep putting it off because it's just a lot to understand. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot of decisions to make. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of everything. And so being able to work with you on this project is, I really mean it when I say made it happen, because otherwise I would still be putting it off. So that's huge. And what I want to go through right now is kind of the skeleton of the process of writing an ebook. And this will probably sound a little overwhelming as I read through it, because there are a lot of steps. But the good news is a lot of these are steps that you need to understand to do anything for a business, to do a product launch, to make a course, which is my personal expertise, to build a website. You really, a lot of these steps are the same. And so once you've done it in one application, you can transfer it. But there are definitely some that are specific to books, which is where my hangups were. But so skeleton of the process, outline the book. You have to know what you're going to say. Don't start designing something, right? Don't start building the course. Don't start building a website. Don't start writing a book until you really know what it is that you want to say. And then particularly for a recipe book, research and development, which I'll talk about in more detail in a minute. But that was another piece that probably stopped me a little bit, because I'm I don't know, how do I feel today sort of a person. And so forcing myself into writing recipes, there was a whole process for that. Then getting a template. This is a big step too, that today it's so much easier to write a book than it was 5, 8 years ago. And you started publishing books 8 years ago. And when you explain that process to me, I think, oh my goodness, that sounds awful. We were able to just get a template and get to work, right? And so that is just one giant chunk out of it. Then you have to design and edit around the template. Once you have the template, it's not as easy as plug and play, unless you have a very, very basic, concept, right? But we had to do a lot of tweaking. And by that, I mean, you had to do a lot of tweaking to make the design fit what we wanted, but at least it wasn't a blank canvas. So then design and edit around the template. Then if you're me, you want all of your own photographs, so you have to go take a bunch of photographs. You want all of your own illustrations, so you have to learn how to use, Photoshop, all of this stuff. So making illustrations for the book, handing all of that to you having to sift through and decide what went into the book and the whole, the beauty of it, not just the content. Keeping a running to-do list to make sure that the team is on track and we're on pace, right? We're on the same page, we know what's happening. Going back and adding anything that's missing, that was a whole other part of it. Was now that we've got all the information here, there's a big leap from this piece to this piece. I don't really understand how these fit unless we add an extra page. So then 20 extra pages later, right? the book is double the size. So just making sure that for somebody who has never approached whatever your topic is, if it's for a beginner, as our book is, then that they will not feel like they've been left out of the loop on pieces or having to make an intellectual leap that they're not prepared to make. So filling in those holes. And then developing any supporting material. So in this instance, there's a lot of extra meat to the book that is telling you which meditation to use for which recipe, sending you to a blog to learn more about carrier oils, giving you a lot of other resources. And some of those resources don't exist yet. So we have to create those resources. I've just always wanted them to exist. So there was extra material, kind of like you would do a resources page in the back of a physical book, right? Let's see, edit it, obviously. Then have others proofread it. We sent it off to some people who were not involved in the process so that they had a totally fresh eye for the design and for the content, and we're able to say, yes, this makes sense, or I don't understand this part, or maybe try, moving this around. Plan the launch. So again, we're back to, you have to do this with anything. If it's a course, if it's a collection, you have to launch it. You can't just stick it on your website and assume people will find it. So plan the launch, decide on the publishing plan. That's a whole thing. We're going to talk about that in a minute. How are you going to publish it? Where are you going to publish it? When are you going to publish it? How many places are you going to publish it? Create the final copy, format it for that chosen publishing method, and then advertise, launch, automate so that new people who would be interested in your book can then find the book and learn about it. And so that is, I don't know, 10, 15 different steps to writing an ebook. And most of those I'm super comfortable with, but there were a couple that were stopping me from doing it at all. And so what I would love for you to do, Crystal, is kind of walk us through, that's like an ebook in general, but from your perspective as someone who was handed all of this information and had to turn it into a book, what are some of the the content that went into there that you're most excited about people getting from this book?
All of it. I can't pick just one. I think it's actually something that if you wouldn't have done this, I would have eventually done myself, because I see the need for it, and it's something I would want for myself. So I'm probably the first biggest fan of it, which that helps tremendously coming into it. Like, that perspective of, this is totally awesome. If I would have had this 4 years ago when I started, imagine what things would be like now. If I would have known this piece of information, so for me going into it, every bit of that content is, necessary. And one thing that has bothered me with a lot of the resources out there is it doesn't touch on the whole perspective of it. It can go on one topic, but it doesn't really give you the full information that you really need to feel secure and safe in exploring. I have a lot of different books and resources, and they all kind of left me wanting this book. And with what you realize through the process, like, you kept adding to it and tweaking. There is so much in here that, for me personally, wanting to grow and learn and utilize it, but also wanting to, maybe pass it along to someone as a resource. This is a whole resource. So like you had mentioned, there's links to the meditation videos. So you can use the actual rollers with the affirmations and go click on a link, and it takes you to this beautiful video. And for me, being super busy, and what I hear from so many other people is I just don't have the time. I want to do it, but I don't have the time. And if I have to click and go to all these different places, it's just not going to happen. So the clickable links with the blog posts that give you more information and all of that stuff, I think for me was like, this is incredible. People do not realize what's about to happen. And I hope this ups the level for everyone else, when they want to produce stuff. I don't want to make that sound like overwhelming to people, but I think you are setting such a good standard here, and it's going to make it hard to compare. So if that is the best way to describe that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that you're entirely right in that we started with one thing, and it kept growing and growing and growing, because we said, well, but what if they want to use it in this way? Or, well, maybe we need like an extra page on the chakra system. So we actually talk about the chakra system and the science behind that, and all of the chakras, and how you can utilize the roller bottles for each different one. But then are we giving enough of an understanding for someone who's new to this? And then I think probably most exciting for me was adding all the information about making your own perfume, which I've actually been recently working with Yolanda, who's one of my copywriters, working with her on creating those blog posts, because I'm okay playing around and just, like, whatever happens, happens. But when I started to do these recipes, and I thought, boy, it not only needs to work and heal people, but it needs to smell good too, right? Because I don't mind smelling bad if it's healing me, but I want it to smell good for them too. So I had to learn how to make a scent that was a good scent. So through that process, I learned a lot about perfumery. And actually, so I have another friend, Stella, who makes her own perfumes, and we started selling them in the Ivy+Light store. And I learned a lot from her, helping her with some of her business stuff, and her sending me research that she was doing. And there's so much to that, just that one little area, that I realized I really need to give people the ability to dive into that if they want to, so that then they feel confident taking a roller bottle with crystals in it, filling it up, and trying something new next time and something new next time, and knowing it'll always be good because they've got this basis. So there's a practical recipe aspect to it. There's also that practical healing aspect to it of here's the meditation to use, here's the affirmation to use, here's when to use it, so that you're not having to figure that out. I get the question all the time, okay, I have crystals, now what do I do? And it's almost like, what do you not do, right? Well, I don't even know how to tell you where to start. And so this book, even just for crystal healing, I think would be really helpful for people to say, okay, I've got rose quartz. Boy, there's like all of this information on this one page, plus all of these ways that I can use it, plus here's a meditation that I can use, plus all, it just is really condensed all the information that I've put out there on the internet into one spot. And then you can click to get, to the other locations without having to do a lot of digging, which I think is part of the huge value of it. So I'm very proud of that. And I'm very grateful that you were so flexible with me in the process of when I said, I think we need another page, okay, let's make it. Let's just make the page. So speaking of that, I want you to talk a little bit about, and this you shared with me the other day, the energetic process that you go through personally when you're working on a creative project, or in specific, when you are working on this project, because we've both got a bazillion things going on and you have your own business. So when you sat down to work on this, how you were able to get into an energy space where you knew that you were putting the right energy in for the result that we wanted, in a wellness ebook, in anything, but especially in a wellness ebook, there's a particular energy you want to send out. So how did you get into that space each day?
Funny enough, crystals and oils are a big part of that. So yeah, I'll go back to like the intention with it first, and then I'll go into the actual tools and techniques I use. So going into this, obviously it's a creative project. Uh, it was my first big project like this, and I thank you for that opportunity. Um, and then it was something that I was really passionate about. Like, I was so thrilled to be a part of this in any way, shape, or form, because I knew that it was something that needed to get out there. And so going into that, there was also this level of panic, of expectation of, wow, this is big. I know this is going to be big. There's a lot of expectation coming out of this. And I want it to succeed. I want it to be beautiful and informative and all of this. And also that I hadn't done this type before, or this level, was a bit like, okay. So a lot of those, my own limiting beliefs came up, a lot of my insecurities, doubts, fears. And I just had to sit back, and when I'd go to work, I'd sit down and see my to-do list and I'd go, I would grab my oils, whatever it was. For me, I am an aroma freedom technique practitioner, and I have my little box of oils right here. So I'd grab my memory release blend, which is one of the sections in the crystals and oil recipe book that you have there, which is so awesome. So I use that, and I just walk myself through the process. And I have my crystals here, and then of course you have helped me know what works best for what. And I have different things here like envision, highest potential, the clarity rollers. I am a happy and proud customer of Erin's stuff. So I'm actually using some of the roller blends that I was working on putting into the book, which was really cool too. So all of that together to get myself in the right frame of mind. I would put some of the oils on for my heart to decrease anxiety, to decrease any limiting beliefs, and go to a place of gratitude and love for this project, and envisioning the final result, getting it into the hands of someone like me 4 or 5 years ago. And that excitement of all of this big stuff, these big concepts, and this whole lifestyle shift, making it so ridiculously some excuse not to move forward with it. And removing all those fears. So being able to picture that result too was huge. And that mindset shift of, even like if I had a lot to do during the day, maybe I was tired, stressed, a lot of other things happened around the same time. And I'm like, okay, so how do I focus on this? The clarity roller was huge for that. But it's saying to myself, I get to do this. I get to have fun. I get to do something that I love. I get to make a difference today. Even if it's not tangible yet, it will be. And every part of that is so crucial, I think. And that's what I see a lot of people missing. And like you, I want to go back to what you said in the beginning. You had all these blocks on you of why you didn't think it was possible. And that's what I hear out of people so much. So when we were talking, I'm like, oh, I just feel like I can really help with this. I feel like maybe I'm not a master guru at this, but I feel like I can, like, it's really not that bad. That was internally what I was thinking. So then when I presented it, I'm like, I can help. I can help. So I just felt more and more sure and confident that it's really not as complicated. But I think just walking through some of those steps and helping people to have a better understanding is huge as well. And then you mentioned like all the extra content and being flexible. I already knew going into it when you said, oh, it's just going to be these pages. I'm like, yeah, okay, we'll see how it's going to be. That's just, I think if anyone is creative or builds something from nothing, you know, you can have every good intention in the world. You can spend hours brainstorming. But when you actually get into there and in the practical application of it, you get a quick dose of what's going to work and what isn't. And that's really a huge part of it too, rather than getting frustrated in those moments. Like if the formatting didn't work right, or if, you know, like you had wanted to put a lot of stuff there in the beginning and the size just didn't look good, or it was too cramped, or being able to be flexible with that and go, okay, this is a whole creative process.
Mhm.
I have to enjoy every bit of it. Otherwise, that energy is, it's just going to ruin it. And then it's not going to come out quite right. So I think that's the condensed version of the process.
It's so important to me when I create on my own, right? When I make my jewelry, I have to be in a state of mind when I'm making it. I cleanse it, I Reiki infuse it. I'm in a state of mind when I send it out. I mean, I'm very protective of that, the environment around my creative process when I write the listing descriptions, when I take the photographs. So then when I started collaborating with other people, it's not just about finding people who can do a process. To me, because I've hired people in the past and I've been a retail manager for years, you know, it's not just about the person having the skill. It's about the person having the attitude that you want to work with. But then for something like this, somebody understanding the topic, the substance, caring about it in a certain way. And I've hired people to do copywriting for me for my business, and then just realize I've got to redo all of this because they don't understand what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. So I started hiring only people who care about wellness, only people who care about and are passionate about teaching people, you know, how to heal, how to grow. And so that's kind of a tip to the wise. If you are in a point in your business where you start collaborating with people, make that first. Make the passion and the understanding of your niche first, then find somebody with a skill to do that project. Because I have tried it the other way around and it doesn't work. You end up having to explain so much to the person about what it is that you do that you're not saving any time, right? And you're certainly not saving frustration. So I was going to talk about these in reverse order, but I'm going to cover it the way that it's naturally flowing. So collaboration and project management on this and everything else that I'm doing. I'm now managing a team of 6 or 7 people. And so all of that is in 2021. And so all of a sudden I'm training people on new tasks. I'm hiring, I'm giving feedback. I'm doing all of these things. And what I've realized is I save a lot of time on the project, but it's not like I don't have to still do the project. So this is another tip. Don't just think you can, or I don't recommend hiring someone for a large passion project of yours and just thinking, well, they'll just do it and they'll turn in their work and I'll publish it, right? It's not the same as wholesaling. It's not the same as just selling somebody else's product. If it's your product, you're putting your name on it, you're going to be involved. So what I was mentioning to Crystal the other day is I feel like for each of my projects, I'm super involved in the first 20%. Then I'm not that involved into about 60% of it. And then I'm super involved again in the last 20% because I have to make sure they understand and I have to give feedback and make sure that we're on the same page. Then I don't have to do a lot of that middle work, which is the stuff I don't want to do because I don't have time, right? And then at the end, we really have to make sure we're on the same page again and that it's all polished up in the way that I want it. So if you're taking on a large scale project, I would suggest leaving time in your day that it has nothing in it, because you will then get the email from somebody who's working on that project for you, and there's no way for you to plan when that's going to come. So the past probably 2 months has been a lot of like, I look at my to-do list and it's nothing until about noon, and then it's 20 things. But if I was filling it in with other projects, I would go nuts because there would not be enough time kind of waiting on people to send me information. So that was an interesting learning process for me. Like you were saying, this was the largest project that you had done working with somebody else, taking on this scale for publishing. For me, it's the largest amount of projects I've done at a time. And so it's definitely been a learning process for both of us, which is the fun part because we're both love to learn, right? But if you aren't open to learning, you're going to struggle in business, I think, because you're always going to learn something. So the other thing that I was going to mention was about research and development. So as I've started business coaching people, and as I'm working on my business course, one of the key pillars that I'm going to talk about is the importance of research and development. And I think that we tend to resist that because we want, or at least I do. My personality is I want to get it right, and I want to do it in a way that is financially responsible. So that can mean you don't take what's the word? You don't take as many risks as maybe you should because you don't want to spend a bunch of money on something that doesn't work, or you don't want to spend a bunch of time on something that doesn't work. And it's just that feeling of failure when you try something and then it's just like, well, nope, no one wants that. That smells awful, or that's not pretty, or whatever. But learning that if you look at a large business, if you look at Amazon, Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, I don't know, Coach, right? Fashion design, the amount of research and development that they do, research on their products, on their customers, developing new products, making their products better, how they launch them, all that stuff. There's a ton of that behind the scenes that you don't see. So what I decided to embrace when I said, okay, we're going to do the recipe book, I'm going to embrace the research and development part of this. And so I pulled out of my bag just some of the rollers that I've made, which is fun. I mean, I get to use them, right? Like this is the best research and development possible. But I would try a scaled back amount. Like, for example, this is a new one I'm trying now, that I would try just about this much of a bottle. So if I hate it, I can just, hate it in the sense that it doesn't smell like I want it to. I can use it, get the healing benefits, try again, instead of making an entire bottle. But I had to try, there's like 25 recipes, I think, in the book, something like that. 50 recipes to get to 25, plus all the things I've done in the past, all my experience. So what it ended up being was starting with intuition and subconsciously referencing my knowledge that I have on crystals and oils, but also referencing what I use on myself daily. Like, what am I already doing? And then how can I take that and put it into a recipe? So that intuitive process, which then I filtered scientifically. Okay, does this really make sense? Or is it just what I happen to be doing myself? let me see if there's something else that would be like the best way to tackle this problem, say stress relief or energy balance or abundance. So through the scientific filter, and then through the artistic filter of, does this really smell right? Am I using top, middle, and base notes like a perfumer would to make this scent last for a long time for people? Is the ratio right of the different oils for the scent? So all of that stuff is a process that you won't see when you read the book. You just assume that here is the answer. But part of the reason I say this is because I want you, from reading the book, to then feel like it's okay for you to research and develop your own stuff, right? To have fun creating roller bottles, to feel like it may take you 5 tries to get your signature scent that you're going to wear every day, and it's going to be the best thing for your energy and your mood and your focus. But that really is something that we all have to do, is try things and then tweak them and then tweak them again and then tweak them again. And so that was another learning lesson for me, for sure, throughout this project was, just try it. And I'll tell you, when you get the book, the root chakra blend is my scent. So if you want to know what Erin smells like, it's the root chakra blend. Anyway, so that's a little sneak peek for you. I want to turn it back over to you, Crystal, and ask you, what was it like designing a project for a client? So that you're passionate about this topic, but it's not your project. And so ultimately you have to, it's what does Erin want to be on the page, and am I happy with it? What's that process for you?
That was one of the things that started tripping me up in the beginning. I got so excited. I felt like I had this, like the floodgates were open. I had this permission to work on something. I had to keep telling myself, this is not about me. This is not about me. And at the same time, it is. Like, that's part of what I get to put in there is my perspective. And so that's where tossing those ideas back and forth, that collaboration is so huge and important and fun. And I think going back to what you were mentioning before too, like if both people have to be aware that this is not a cut and dry process.
Mm-hmm.
If you're hiring someone to help you, or if you were hired, you have to be open and flexible to it. So for me going into this process, like, yeah, I think originally it was about 25 pages, 20 pages. I think that was the first one was like, yeah, I feel like 21 pages. And now it's like 51 pages. So the design, adding a new page or adding a new section to something isn't necessarily just as simple as it sounds. Then it goes into this whole different layer and process. And does that really make sense? Does that fit? Can anything be combined? So there are a lot of questions to each step, but it's also just a lot of fun. So same with you doing the research and development on the roller recipes. I feel like that was the same thing for me from the design perspective. Was it's part knowing your plans for it, your vision, your heart, the spirit, and the purpose for it, and your customer base, like the ideal customer that you're catering to, who you wrote this for, picturing them in it as well, and you, and then going, okay, well, how can I bring my stuff to this? So it's very unique. But so much of that was intuition as well. So probably half and half, maybe half this actual template, this actual like cut and dry thing, and then another half of just playing around, seeing what works, and then tossing it back and forth with you going, what do you think about this? I did this. What do you think? Or, just the room to play is huge in the design process. But at the same time, feasibly, you can't just do everything like that. So the template was huge. And you had mentioned, like, when I did my own thing back then, there wasn't templates. There was none of this big ebook boom. It was very much such a split between having a published professional book and then this self-published you are navigating this whole territory on your own thing. And I remember trying to publish, and I was just in tears, so frustrated, the first bit around. So then that was another thing of my experience back then with you. It's like, if it was that hard for me and I did it, like, there is no reason you can't do it. Like that was another part of my perspective. Was like, yeah, it's not that bad. There are so many more tools and resources out here. And like you realize too, you can go ask a question and it'll populate with all these different things to try. So there wasn't that before. There weren't many ebooks going around. So the hours that I spent fiddling around with formatting to what there is now is, I mean, it's a totally different world. So I'm just going to say there's no excuses.
Yeah.
So going into that too, that design process, the biggest part was, is this going to make you happy? Is this actually what you're asking for? And then going back with a fresh perspective. For me, it was feeling confident to ask you questions, but also trying to figure out as much as I could on my own first. But then not wanting to badger you all the time. And then just wanting to do right by it. Did I really grasp this concept? Not so much. Okay, then I'm going to go ask for help. And then I think it worked beautifully after that. So there were some parts in there where I'm like, yeah, I just, this is a little bit over my head. So you're going to need to do this part. And I think that really mostly came out with the chakra section. That's one of the ones I am least educated on. And then I had my own ideas, and then you had your particular things that you wanted to infuse in there. It worked out beautifully, but I think that's a huge thing too, is that communication on both parts, like knowing I could trust you, that you weren't going to be this like angry dictator boss. That you were okay with me coming to you with questions was a huge part of it too. So
yeah, I think that's so important when collaborating with someone, but especially if you're the person who ultimately is in charge, right? It's your project. Mm-hmm. That to encourage questions, to not get frustrated if someone doesn't understand. The way from my days of managing 300 people at Trader Joe's, it's okay. I think I probably didn't explain it right, is where I go to. I think I need to explain it again, because I'm smart, you're smart, we can figure this out. So let me just say it again, instead of feeling like, oh, why does this person not understand? So that's that first 20% of any project, is getting on the same page, making sure that for the entire rest of the project, you're set up for success. And every single project that I've started has been that way. There's a lot of back and forth at the beginning. Like, I send you these colors, but then you do them. Well, that's not really what I wanted, even though that's what I said. So let me show you what I wanted. Oh, now you get it. Okay, great. Or, yeah, I said I wanted chapters this way, but actually I want 2 extra chapters. And I should have said that, but I didn't. So there's a lot of getting on the same page, then allowing your creativity to come through, because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't just you literally physically doing the thing that I would have done myself. There's no point in that. I should just do it myself, right? That it would be better because it would be infused with your angle of thinking about it, with your ability to design and create, and your knowledge of the book writing process. So picking somebody to work with that is going to make the project better, and then allowing them to make the project better, I think is the beauty of finding the right collaborators. And I'm very, very grateful this year to have found so many wonderful people to work with, which just for the Ivy+Light community is so much better than what they were getting with me, because it's me plus all of these people infused into what we're putting out now, which I'm super excited about. the last thing I wanted to ask you about was that coaching part of the process, because there was me kind of explaining to you what I wanted. And then the farther we got into it, it became more you coaching me through the publishing process. And I know that for you moving forward, that's the way that you can help people the most. And we discussed this, that I mean, I was amazed at how much you knew that I then didn't have to waste my time researching. And just having you to walk me through the process and me being able to be like, well, I'm just not even going to worry about that until later, because Crystal knows what she's talking about and I don't understand it, but she'll explain it to me. So tell me a little bit about that, the coaching aspect, and how you're able to help people see how to do a project in an easy way, because I know that's really important to you too.
Yeah, absolutely. So that goes back, I think, first to that limiting belief. Any of those limiting beliefs, I can't do it, this is hard, etc. I don't believe in that anymore. So I'm not going to let you or anyone else continue on with that. So that was that extra challenge for me, was how can I make this as easy as possible for you? And then kind of what I did was walk you through those steps very gently. I don't think you realized necessarily what I was doing each time, but I was kind of prompting and I was listening as what kind of came out, picking up on different things. And it's like your head was saying one thing, but then what came out of your heart was a different thing. And I'm like, okay. So that's where it just actually sending you some of the information. You came to that conclusion on your own, but rather than me telling you, you are able to come to your own conclusions and know in your heart and gut everything was in alignment, that this is the best for me. So just like the research and development, I think in coaching or anything, that's where there's all this stuff going on in the back. And then to make sure I'm honoring you in your process, it's really just doing little prompts and little things to help you see what's there, to help you see you can do this without me telling you. Sometimes people do just need to be told, but for the most part, that self-discovery process is really what coaching is about for any capacity, I think. So that it's delicate, because I just want to be like, here's the thing, this, and this. But it's a whole process. And I think if I would have just came out and said, I think this is the best way for you, there would still be the hesitation and I don't know, second guessing. But letting you do it on your own with a little bit of guidance, you are so solid and sure as you went through it. So now you have this whole great big plan for things to come. You have such a better focus and clarity on it. And I think just that energy going into it, I could see the change in you once you got it. Being as generic as I can with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think what you said is exactly, I could feel that happening, right? That's why I said, like, coaching me through it, because basically I didn't hire you to coach me through it, but that's what happened. But it was exactly like I know that I do with my business clients that I'm helping to create a course. One of the reasons that I can really help them create a course in a way that I'm very, very proud of and gets great results is because I have done it like 45 times. I know how to do it so well, so back to front, that I can ask them those questions and give them the space to come up with their own answer, which is so much more powerful, because then by the time we launch a course, they're like, oh, I understand how to launch a course. Not, I did the activities that Erin told me to do, and now the course exists. And now I need to go get Erin to help me launch the second course and the third course. And I try to coach people out of ever needing me again, which is not financially a great idea, but it's what I believe in. So I try to coach people in a way that they are making their own decisions and feel empowered at the end of it. And that was definitely what you were doing, asking me a bunch of questions, allowing me to answer it, and then saying, okay, yeah, here's why I was thinking that's what you would say. And, you know, now here's the next question, and just saying, well, here are the options. But then you also have the knowledge and the resources to give me, 40 different websites to look at more information, which was fantastic too, so that I could do my own research. And that just, so that is the power of coaching with somebody, hiring a coach who has done it before, right? And a lot of times we hire someone because they claim that they're a good coach, but we don't actually hire someone who's gone ahead of us. So the power of hiring somebody who has done something and can then coach you through it is so that they, if they're a good coach, will have the ability to leave you some space to make those decisions yourself, and then be able to explain to you exactly what it is if you need that too. So there's like those both options. And I know that you are interested in continuing to help people in this way with projects, with business projects or creative projects. And so I'm going to pop up, probably the easiest way to contact you is through your Facebook group. So I'm going to put on the page here, facebook.com/group/Nature's Way. This is Crystal's wellness group, and you can also ask her any questions that you have. She has, she's in the process of creating a gorgeous new website. So that is coming soon. But until then, you can check out that Facebook group. You can also, please, as you watch this back, leave any questions down below. We would love to answer them for you. We tried to go through in this call the process for our ebook, how excited we are about it, but also the process in general, right, for ebooks. But we'd love to answer your questions too. So if you have a specific question about the recipe book or a specific question about publishing, and that could be ebooks or physical books, feel free to put that down below and we'll get back to you with that answer, because we'd love for this to be a process that we went through for ourselves and to create the book, but also a process that is really helpful for you on your own journey. And be that as just a creative who wants to write a book or as somebody who wants to write a book for your business. And then I think that's really pretty much it. I just want to tell you guys the recipe book is coming out very, very soon. We are in like the last 2 to 3 steps of our to-do list. And so we're hoping end of August or beginning of September. So if you're watching this now, you can still pre-order. And I'm going to pop that up here, just ivyandlight.com or /store. It's one of the new items. So if you just go to the store, it's right at the top. You can get the pre-order. That will actually get you some bonuses, not least of which is getting to be on the thank you page. So we're actually going to do that page very last. I really want to thank everybody who is putting their vote in ahead of time, helping to finance this, because the more people purchase the book ahead of time, the more time I can spend on the book, right? So that it gets done faster. So that you're putting your, your vote in for this book and projects like this ahead of time. All of you are going to get a thank you on that page, as well as everybody who has taken the Crystals and Oils course is going to get a thank you too, because that's actually a bonus for the course. So if you want to go ahead and purchase, you can go to ivyandlight.com/store. If you first want to learn a little bit about crystals and oils and decide if you want to dive into that more, you should go to the Ivy and Light Facebook group, because we now have in there the Crystals and Oils 101, and you can learn like the very basics, like let's say page 1 through 3 of the book essentially, and then decide whether or not you want to dive deep, and then you can go ahead and grab the book. But I think that I haven't run out of things to say. I could talk about this for forever, but I have run to the end of my list of things I was going to say. So any questions that you have or any other statements you want to make, Crystal, and then I'm going to ask you to pick the recipe you're most excited about.
Oh, well, I'm just going to say that going back, like, it's so much more than just the crystals and oils too. I think it really is a good solid basis for education and getting into the natural health and wellness, that empowerment, and getting to take control of your own health. I think that's really what isn't advertised in it, but that's what comes out through that process. So I think if anyone has any inkling whatsoever to be empowered for their own health, they definitely need to get it. So my favorite recipe, actually, I mean, there's so many, But one of my favorite parts of it that I wasn't as familiar with was adding crystals to my diffuser routine. I had never even thought of that before. So when I'm going through that and I got like that was on your wants list in there, I'm like, ooh. And then actually going and piecing everything together, I'm like, this is amazing. So that inspired me to actually start creating my own different diffuser blends and recipes with the crystals. So I haven't started yet, but that's on my next playing phase, my research and development. So it's actually not one of the traditional roller recipes, but the diffusers. So that's the thing too. Like, I think anyone who comes away with this book is going to be so inspired that they're not even going to realize it in advance. It's just going through it and like, ooh, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
So I had fun on my side of it, and I got to be in the whole process. So I can only imagine people who are so new to this, what it's going to be like for them.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited that you're excited about the diffuser thing. I had so many times people ask me questions about that, and I thought, I just need to make a video. So now there's a book, yay! And you can learn all of that stuff. I think my favorite scent is the root chakra blend. And I think probably the one I'm most excited for people about are two things. I finally created the fertility recipe, and I finally created the energy balance recipe. And for my crystal jewelry, I sell more throat chakra thyroid support necklaces and more fertility necklaces than anything else. And so now there is an essential oil blend that you can use that pairs with those. And so that's the research part. Know your audience, right? My audience has been asking for this. So I was really excited to develop that for this book. And to get to hear people, because I know they're going to use it. I know they're going to love it. And I can't wait that. So I'm just so darn excited to get it all completed and put out there into the world for you guys. Again, if you have any questions, let us know. If you have questions particularly about the ebook, like publishing or the publishing world in general, self-publishing, again, I'm going to encourage you to go join Crystal's Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Nature's Way, facebook.com/group/Nature's Way. And I'll put it in the description as well. So you could ask her directly. And then if that's like really on your plate for soon, you could talk to her about doing some coaching through that process for you so that she can help you get it done with grace and speed and ease. So thank you again, Crystal, for all of your help. It wouldn't have happened without you. Thank you for taking time tonight to chat with me and share this with our audience and with the rest of the world. And guys, leave your questions below. Thank you for tuning in. And we will see you guys soon. Keep your eyes on the space, and we will be announcing the publication in a matter of days. All right, guys. See you later.